part of what makes this institution is that we cherish and encourage dissent and disagreement. And I think this collection models that. Here are a bunch of people who disagree with one another, but they're operating within a shared framework, and they can come together to display it to a productive end.
That might just be the best metaphor for democracy I've heard all day.
Okay, Sasha, you walked into my office and you had what seemed to me to be an interesting, but admittedly off-the-wall idea. What was your idea?
I think back in December, I was really grappling. We are so privileged to be professors at Harvard Law School. We're so privileged to be part of this extraordinary group of thinkers and scholars and academics. And there's so much knowledge. And we have a responsibility to our students. I think we have a responsibility to our professional community. We should come together as a faculty and say what we are thinking about, what we are grappling with. We should grapple out loud. But I thought this moment calls for more than each of us doing, frankly, what we would normally do, and even how we might individually step up. We should do it together.
Your idea was, let's put together a book where each faculty member contributes from their areas of expertise. Why a book?
A book, because history. It's a moment in history that I thought that we could and frankly should take the opportunity to try to contribute to. At Harvard Law School, with our colleagues and the extraordinary range of writers and scholars and thinkers on this faculty, it seemed to me that the vehicle for that, for Harvard Law School, is not a website. It's not a symposium to which only a limited number of people can attend or participate. And it's not something that will fade into the content of the internet. It is the kind of work that Harvard Law School has been doing for 200 years, and that is we should write a book. We said, share with us in a short thought piece, 1,000 words, what you are thinking about law in your space at this moment that you would like to put on the record today for our students, for our profession, for our polity, and that you will be glad you had a chance to say, looking back in 5 years, in 10 years.
You also talked about, in the conversation about academic freedom and the importance of the rule of law, one of the things that academics owe the world, each other, our students, are honest views, especially and as legal academics, about how the law operates and how to think about it, how well it works in our particular domains, what are its limitations. And one of the things that I found compelling in this project is when you read through these essays, one gets a very honest, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes humorous, always insightful understanding about how law operates across a broad range of domains.
You and I have actually been in this conversation ever since we've been colleagues.
Sure.
What does it mean to be a scholar and an academic, for example, rather than a practicing attorney, which we've both done? There are gifts and there are constraints to both spaces, but there's something about academic freedom, the ability to push our work and our knowledge and our attempt at contribution as far as possible with the protection of knowing that this is a space in which that is possible. You can't do that when you're a lawyer. You can't experiment with your clients' lives that way, but we can do it. And it's a privilege. It's a benefit. You and I as colleagues have been grateful for this the whole time. And so inviting our colleagues to participate in what might be the quintessential expression of our academic freedom at this moment was actually the best way to appreciate it.
Now, one of the things that I thought about when you said, "Hey, we should do this," I thought, "Oh, this could actually be fun." Um,
6 months later.
6 months later.
Did
First
you
of
have
all,
fun?
I did. I had fun.
Yeah, we could call it fun. But I was really inspired by the enthusiasm of our colleagues who are not famous for working in groups of 60 or more together. That's sort of not our MO. Everyone is sort of a powerhouse in their own right. We kind of often do our own thing.
So many of our colleagues wanted to be a part. And my hope and expectation is that it won't be the last time we come together to engage each other and the world as a collective, not just as individuals. I will take that with me in this project and as a highlight of my career here at HLS.
When we step out of our comfort zone and we're willing to take a risk like this one, that sometimes the most fertile and really inspiring things can come out of it. Another thing, maybe the last thing that I'll say that I was inspired by was our disagreement. Because this is not a unified collection.
No, that is very true, right?
And as we were editing and reading all these essays, I think one of the challenges was to bring them together in a way that was both coherent, but that also recognized and embraced the profound differences.
So when you say that, it reminds me, right? We're modeling for our students,
Great point.
for everybody else, the very things that we preach, right? Which is that, look, part of what makes this institution law itself is that we cherish and encourage dissent and disagreement. And I think this collection models that. Here, a bunch of people who disagree with one another, but they're operating within a shared framework, and they can come together to display it to a productive end.
At the risk of being grandiose.
Risk it.
That might just be the best metaphor for democracy I've heard all day. Because the point of a democracy is, I think, to house disagreement, to house difference with a collective agreement about the ground rules. In law school, we sometimes just call that rule of law. It is, we agree to do it by law. We do not agree what the outcome will be. We do not agree what the answer will be, but we agree to do it by law, not by fiat, not by brute force or power, and frankly, not by violence. And I hope that our students see that we are trying to practice what we preach.
It's a great place for me anyway to leave it, right? Practicing what we preach, modeling the things that we try to teach. Not to be too grandiose, but ending on a grandiose note is pretty good. Thank you, partner.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.